All right, folks, we're on to page 250 with the muscles. We're going to start with the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius is a two-joint muscle going from the femur to the calcaneal tuberosity. To palpate, we're going to go up on our toes while keeping the knee straight, and you're going to palpate along the back of the leg. The soleus also goes to the calcaneal tuberosity, but it originates at the tibia, so it's a one-joint muscle. To palpate it, we're going to bend the knees and go up on our tiptoes. Now we're going to have to palpate more laterally or more medially to find the soleus. On the bottom of page 250, we are going to skip the plantaris, and now we're going to move on to the tibialis posterior. The tibialis posterior is palpated along the medial aspect. The cue to the patient is to point your toes down and inward, and we're going to palpate the space between the medial malleolus and the Achilles tendon. So again, toes down and in between the medial malleolus, Achilles tendon. Right here is where you'll find the tibialis posterior. To find the flexor hallucis longus, again, it's along the medial aspect behind the medial malleolus. The cue now is to curl your toes, and it's palpated posterior and inferior to the medial malleolus. So this would be the spot again for the flexor hallucis longus. On the next page, at the top of page 252, we're going to look at flexor digitorum longus. Cue is the same, curl the toes, and again it's going to be posterior and medial to the medial malleolus. You'll see in parentheses at the bottom it's the same as the tibialis posterior. The difference is the instruction to the patient. The instruction to the patient again for flexor digitorum longus is to curl the toes, and for tibialis posterior is to point your toes down and inward. Tibialis anterior is along the anterior surface of the tibia. You palpate it by asking the patient to point the foot up to the ceiling, and you come lateral to the crest of the tibia. So here's the crest, the muscle belly's a little off to the lateral side. Extensor hallucis longus, what we would do is straighten the great toe pointing up to the ceiling. Whenever you see hallucis, please know that implies the great toe. So you're going to palpate along the front of the ankle. Sorry, difficult motion to do. Point along the front of the ankle and down to the great toe here. The extensor digitorum longus, point the toes up to the ceiling, and you're going to palpate along the front of the ankle and these four tendons you can see coming down to each toe. The last two we're going to worry about is the fibularis longus and fibularis brevis. We are going to skip the fibularis tertius. So the fibularis longus is located along the lateral aspect of the ankle. You're going to ask the patient to point the toes and move your foot outside. To palpate, we're going to be distal to the head of the fibula, and it's going to go down to the lateral malleolus. It could go along the posterior aspect of the malleolus, and then it goes down to into the bottom of the foot. The fibularis brevis runs in the same area, that is implied by the name. It is shorter and it doesn't project as far distally. The cue to the patient is move your foot to the outside. That's different than what you'll see in fibularis longus, where the cue is to move the foot outside and curl the toes. So fibularis brevis, again, move the foot to the outside, and the muscle belly is palpated on the distal lateral fibula. And note that the book says it cannot be distinguished from the fibularis longus. So as long as you're palpated in the same area, but the cues or instructions of the patient is different, you're going to get that correct.